Hello students. The last video I mentioned that I might demonstrate a little bit of something in Illustrator using a certificate that I made, and so that's what I'm doing now. So soon I will be showing you 4 different images that are parts of this certificate, but in order to reacquaint myself with Illustrator, what I did was I went back and I watched that video of the 2 videos that were in there, the Terry White videos, the 10 things you want to know about using Illustrator. I watched the one for CC, Creative Cloud, because that's the version that I have here on a machine in the Communication and Journalism office. So in that one, I'm about halfway through it, and one of the things I'm trying to do is use the gradient tool. And I was having a great deal of difficulty, and I could follow everything else, but when I tried to use the gradient tool, the tool wouldn't work. And I tried it again and again, and I'm watching what he's doing, and it still wouldn't work. And then I did what any smart 21st century person would do. I'd go on Google and say, why won't the gradient tool work? And somebody had a very simple answer. It turns out there are tools that can be either stroke tools or fill tools. A stroke will give you the outside of a shape, and a fill will fill it with color. Well, the gradient tool is a fill tool, but I was toggled into the stroke tool, so you can't use gradient as a stroke, it's a fill. Another thing I want to talk about in Illustrator, I had mentioned that if you're going to make a logo, you want to make it in Illustrator, not in Photoshop, for the simple reason that you could increase the size of it tremendously, big enough to put it on the side of a building. And if it is a vector graphic, it will not deteriorate in terms of the lines, and the colors won't fade. And if it is a raster graphic that is just made out of so many pixels, then what's going to happen is the colors will fade and the edges will get jaggy. So the other interesting thing about Illustrator and vector graphics is that you make an object and then you make another object, and what happens is objects stack one on top of another. And so the normal order is the most recent object that you made is the topmost object. You can then go up into the dialog box for arrange, and you can send something to the back or send something to the front. But this is the thing I'm going to demonstrate now. So I have a colleague, and so I wanted to basically canonize him as a saint in this imaginary church. And so I made up a certificate. And so if you look at the certificate, you can see that there's a banner at the top and that there's a seal down at the bottom left-hand corner. And so the banner at the top is one of those things that I made in Illustrator at about minute 15 of the demonstration for Creative Cloud. Terry White talks about the brush library. And so if you look at the banner at the top, that is something that I then just picked out of the brush library, and then using a brush I drew it across a certain length, and then I was able to use the select tool and bend it so it had kind of a nice curve to it. And so I found that in the decorative banners and seals part of the brush library. But now I want to talk about the seal, the seal of the church that I made. I could have made it from scratch, but that would have been a lot more work. And one of the great things about Illustrator is you can basically take something that already exists and then add things on top of it. So the first image that you'll see is the image of the seal of my church, and it has all of its parts. And then the next one, I will basically remove that symbol in the middle. The symbol in the middle is the Chinese character shu, or xu, and it's the symbol that means writing, or things written, or books. And so I've got another version of it where I just take that out, because that thing is sitting sort of as a layer on top of the things underneath it. And then I'll take another one and remove something from it. And so now you'll no longer have, I think the second image maybe doesn't have the, I'm not sure what I did in the second image. When I put them in, I'll see. But then finally, if I take enough layers off the top, you'll see that what I actually began with was the seal for the FBI. So Basically, I just went and searched on Google, found an FBI seal, found it as a .ai document, which is an Adobe Illustrator document, and then was able to build upon it. Now, I had mentioned that if you don't have Adobe Illustrator, you can use Inkscape, and so it turns out Inkscape uses what are called .svg documents, vector graphics. So anything that I make in Illustrator, I can choose to export I can save it as an Illustrator document, but then I can only open it in Illustrator. These things that are in this video are ones what I exported them as PNGs, so then I can use them as PNGs, I can use them in any document. But if I wanted to use them in Inkscape, then I would export them as .svg documents, because that's sort of the generic document type for vector graphics. So with no further ado, I'm now going to save this document and then put in those images. So it should I hope what I'm saying makes sense to you, that if you're going to make a logo, you don't have to make it from scratch. You can build upon a pre-existing logo. If in the final thing what you're going to do is you're going to revise the logo of some pre-existing logo for a Fortune 500 company, you could start from scratch, or you could take the one that already exists, and maybe all you're going to do is change the colors, or you're going to add new writing on it. One of the things that I found a little challenging, but again, a couple of Google searches, was like how to get the writing to go around a circle. And it's pretty easy in Illustrator. So I'm going to stop this now, put in those images, save it, put it in YouTube, and then put it in the Canvas site. Talk to you later.